back to another episode of Itsnotjunktv. I'm Jarvis, and this is the one-man Cathedral ceiling. On this episode, we're going to start doing some corner beads, some taping, mudding, and try to get all the first coat on this room here. So hang tight, going to get set up. We're going to start with some corner bead, move into the tape, of course, and then we're going to mix up some mud and start getting some mud on these walls. So give me just a moment, and we'll be right back. So I think we're going to start with this little window right here. I'm not going to do trim, any kind of trim, just going to finish the drywall around this little window. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it with some of the corner bead. I've already got it cut to the length here. I like the metal stuff. I know there's some paper, some hybrid paper metal stuff. I just like the old school. Just cut to length. Then just put it on with a standard, don't know if you can see that, but just a regular roofing nail is all I use. Just enough to get it back on there so we can get some mud on it. I've never had one crack, so I'm sure there's other ways, and if there's a better way or you know of a little easier way, drop it in the comments down below. Let me hear how you were taught to do it. Like I say, I've always used this metal stuff. I tried the paper fiberglass stuff. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I don't use the old school paper tape. I don't like it either. I like the stick-on fiberglass stuff. To me, it holds up better. I've never had that. Now you can't do a whole room, walk away, and come back the next day and think it's going to be still stuck there. You kind of got to do it in sections. And I think that's where people kind of mess up, is they try to go ahead and pre-tape a whole room, and you can't do that. It won't hang out. It's not that sticky of a substance. But we'll go ahead and just run a few. It don't take a lot. You don't have to really get carried away. A little heavy there. Can't get one in there. Just because that corner's kind of hanging out. Let's see. We're gonna get one back in there. And if you notice, if you watched episode 2 where I was hanging the drywall, I always use screws, I don't use no nails. If you had 2 or 3 people, or even a drywall jack, what? You ain't went back and seen episode 2 or episode 1? Come on now, go on back and watch those, and then come back here, and then you can watch this one, then you know what we're doing. But unless you've seen them, then it just looks like a guy nailing some metal to the side of a corner. But anyway, we'll get these all nailed up, everything in place, and move on to the next. We've got one nail there. The head of it's all messed up. For some reason, every time I reach it, notice no tool pouches. I got them, but if I'm doing stuff indoors, I'm not walking around with Andy's first pouch. see it sticking out the way, go ahead. See if you can't get it held down and just make things easier when we come back in a bit with a trowel and with some mud. And just forward. Alright, that's one. I'm gonna shut up now and knock the rest of these out. Follow along. Alright, now we're finally on to the next step. We're going to start taping this thing up. Again, as I said in the last scene, I know a lot of folks don't like this stuff. They've had issues with it. It doesn't, they can't get it to stick, or it cracks or something like that. Well, I've never had that issue. There is a little prep you got to do, and that's just as simple as taking a damp cloth and just wiping down the area around the seams where you're getting ready to put this stuff. No knives needed. You don't need a utility knife. I just use one of my small drywall knives. And now I've dropped the edge of that down there. There it is. So all I do, start at the seam. We're going to do all this lower stuff right now. We're going to start in the lower and work our way up. Run your piece down there. Take your knife, break it off, come back and rub over it. Any place that you see any seams, which there's going to be a lot on this wall. I left a lot of this old drywall on here. Probably shouldn't. But there is some really dusty, gross insulation behind that wall. And I was not real enthused about tearing all that out. It's insulated well. I checked a bunch of spots, so I'd rather deal with some drywall seams than be stuck playing with more insulation. I know the paper stuff is cheaper. I've bought the paper stuff, I've used the paper stuff, but I find that I'm just a little heavy-handed, and I always end up pulling too much of the mud out from behind the paper stuff, and then it ends up peeling up. I have never experienced that with this stuff. Now, dropping my knife, I do that a lot. See, I can even use that same piece. Just use your knife, double it up. I mean, now like I said before, you don't want to put this stuff up and let it hang out here for days. It will not hang. Gravity will take effect and it will fall. But any of these vertical, horizontal, come over with this knife, smooth it in. Just like that. Little piece there. Little piece there. That is something that'll happen. You'll get the occasional thread, but just break them off. Don't leave them, and don't pull them. Try to snap them off. If not, you'll unroll unroll a whole spool of little pieces. All right, and I think I want to do this first seam up here at this corner. Come out to about right there. And we'll set using our hand that bottom. And I'm pressing my fingers into that corner because I don't want it to be round. I want to establish an actual corner. You also notice I'm holding, I hope you can see me, I'm holding this where I've already stuck. Then I'll just come down here, grab a piece, and break that off. Tear it off, rip it off, cut it off. And then press it in the corner. Come back. Simple. Now we got this bottom edge of that corner established. I'm going to get this top seam, run this corner. Same sort of thing here. Get it started where you want, press it in, and establish one side. Don't try to do them both, just do one. And once you get it up, you can work any wrinkles out of it. Pull you a nice little piece down below. Give you some room to work. I don't know if you can see me at all. Let's see if we can see if I see. Tape up a little bit more. You've seen me do it now. I'm gonna go ahead and tape up the next section, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to mix up. I'm gonna show you a little thing that I do for mixing mud, and we'll start putting some mud on these walls. All right, now I'm gonna show you how I mix up some mud here. I like this pre-mixed stuff straight out of the bucket. I buy the bags sometimes, but you gotta be able to work quick. And this ain't a speed job. This is trying to smooth out some pretty rough walls, so I need it to work. So here it is straight out of the bucket. You can see, pretty thick, pretty chunky. You cannot use this straight out of the bucket. Anybody that tells you you can, you're not gonna have much success. So even just trying to mix it straight out of this bucket it's going to take too much time, and there's no benefit to it. I've seen guys do it, but there's no reason. So what I do is I'm going to take about a third, maybe a quarter of this bucket, transfer it over to another one. See, once you get down, they put something on the top of it to keep it from drying out. But once you get down a little bit further, see how thick that gets? A little bit more. Good thing is if you got you a nice clean bucket, I've got the lid for this bucket, so anything we mix up can be closed off and just reused. But I do not suggest you ever try to do anything straight out of this original bucket. All right. be enough to work with. Put it back. Push that one back out of the way. Alright, so here we go. Take your drill and your mixer, let's see it. Do you hear the extra strain? To me, that's just a tad too thick. So I've got a little bit of just plain water. Just a little, don't take much. You don't want it running, you don't want it to drip back off the walls after you smooth it out. That you don't want to do. But I think it's thin enough. And now, in order to keep some of the bubbles down, we're going to take just a little bit of some dishwashing liquid. Should probably finish my sentence there. And get this mixed in, and that should eliminate some of the air bubbles that show up as you're knifing this stuff out. I haven't gotten one yet, but you should keep you a bucket of just clean water to drop all this down into. That way you don't let this stuff dry up on all your tools. But for now, I flung it all over the place. Alright, I got my pan all loaded up. Get as much in there as you can. I'm going to start off, I think this is a 10-inch knife. I don't normally start much lower. Might as well start with enough and get some mud on this wall the first go around instead of just wasting time. I'm going to start right here on this seam. This side is a little bit higher than this side. So what I'm going to do when I pull this first bit of mud across here, I'm not just going to run down the center, because all that's going to do is just pile more up on this high side. It's already high. Why do we want to put more on top of it? So what we're going to do is probably start about right in here and pull this way. That way, when this ledge hits the edge of this knife where all that mud's sitting, it'll leave more there in a thinner amount out this way and start to build this up. And then when we come back with our second coat, we'll start out a little further. And then I'll use a big old knife on it and see if I can't draw it down. Then we'll get it flat in that third and final coat. I always do 3 coats on drywall. It always works out that way. I've never had it be any simpler. I do have a trick for easing a little bit of the sanding that goes in between, but we'll get to that probably a little bit further along. So let's see if we can draw this out. And if you notice what I'm doing, I'm looking at this knife. I don't know if I can get it to pick up on there. Guys, if you've ever tried to look at a camera and hold something up to it, everything's reversed, backwards, in between, and upside down. So trying to look into a screen and show you, but if you see, I don't know if you can pick it up, but there's a curve to this blade. Maybe that way is the way to do it. It's curved, there's a belly in it. And you want that belly facing down. If you go this way, you're going to leave a clump down the center. You're going to press it up against the wall, and there's going to be a clump. But if you leave that belly in the center, when you press it against the wall, it flattens out. So let me show you. So here it is, belly facing down. You could just mark the handle, put you a little mark so you know exactly. If you'll notice, I'll do it as I change hands back and forth and whatnot. I'll periodically look and see where we're at. Because even I'll throw it in there upside down. So we'll load up, like I say, about right here. See how it thinned out towards the edge? flat. That's why I start with a bigger knife, because you're never going to get notice how the back of the knife, I keep it down. If you hold it up too high, when you get against the wall, if you got it way up high, you're just going to drag off more stuff. The closer down you can get, you really got to hold the knife, get your fingers back out of the way, and drag it back. Another advantage of putting that dishwashing liquid in it is it smells a whole lot better. Let me get you changed up here. See, look and see where the knife is. You think the heavier side, but see, even on the side you're not using, gets mud on it, so you can't just look. Alright, so it looks like it's changing here, so now I'm going to have to come this way. And it's okay to pull it out, probably even going to have to change hands. Being able to go back and forth is a little handy when it comes to doing drywall. Don't want to leave too many high ridges. You want to clean your knife periodically, scrape it back and forth. You can always spin the pan around, get to a clean edge, and then all that you just picked up, you can come back. Of course, that's just the basics of it. This takes time. I'm not even really very good at it. I just have done it enough that I know a system that seems to work for me. Now this one I'll probably run flat but you really want to fill up all the webs of that tape this first time around. Make sure you're not leaving any air bubbles, so you got to change direction. I got to change the camera a little bit here. Alright, go. There's the problem spot there. Oh. See, sometimes you can just leave well enough alone and get it on the next round. But you don't, and you touch it, and you're redoing it. Draw something out. Get you up a little taller. Just a matter of watching what the wall is doing. If there's a low spot one place and a high spot the other, you kind of just got to feel for so I need to refill my pan. That's probably enough gibberish out of me. That gives you an idea of where to start. Take your time. Don't get in a big hurry. Don't try to put too much on at one time. This isn't a glob. You're not trying to cake it on there. Little thin coats. First one, just enough to smooth everything. Just trying to get enough. You're not trying to build up. Second coat's for build up. Third coat's for smoothing. So, but I'm just gonna set you back, shut up for a while, bust out this wall. So here we go. end of the first coat put on. We're gonna let this set for 24 hours. When we come back, I'm gonna show you a quick little step for my sanding process for step 2, which involves no sanding. The least amount of sanding I can do, the better. So stay tuned. When we come back, we'll be on to step 2.